I'm Nick Qureshi. It's 10:01.
Love. The best bit of love. Real life on the radio with datingdirect.com.
Hello, Monday nights. Graham Torrington back on Late Night Love. And when I was driving into the radio station tonight, saw loads of youngsters out trick and treating. I haven't had any trick or treat at all today, so let's make up for it tonight on the show. Something a little bit different tonight. We've never, ever, ever talked about ghosts on Late Night Love. And it's Halloween, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Your ghost stories. Now, I'm here to be convinced that there is such a thing as a ghost, because I've never seen one. I don't know what to expect. But lots of people claim they have seen ghosts. So tonight on Late Night Love, on Halloween, your ghost stories.
Late Night Love. Certificate 18.
Or 123, Late Night Love, 90. It's Graham Torrington on Late Night Love with datingdirect.com. Halloween 2005. Something a little bit different tonight. In the 10-year history of Late Night Love, we've never, ever, ever talked about ghosts. We've never done anything to do with Halloween. We just thought, why not? Let's do it this year. Your ghost stories. Now, I'm not saying I'm a believer. I'm not saying I'm a non-believer. What I want from you tonight is to prove to me that there are ghosts. Now, the team who work here on Late Night Love, some of them are a little bit scaredy cats. And normally when we do this show, there's lots of just imagine the scene, right? There's lots of studios around where I sit that are normally in darkness because we like to get the mood right on the show. Tonight, we've got all the lights on. Just in case, of course. Just in case. So, do ghosts exist? Have you got any ghost stories to tell us? Prove to me tonight that ghosts exist. Call us right now. You can go to our website, go to the Late Night Love page and send me an email from there.
Dim the lights and turn up the love. Late Night Love with Graham Torrington.
Hello, Sandra.
Hello, Graham.
Here we are then, Halloween, and you've got a ghost story to tell, because I'm a bit of a skeptic, I have to say, when it comes to ghost stories, but I'm here to be proved wrong tonight, and I'm sure you're somebody that's going to tell me something that could prove me wrong.
Well, I hope so. I'd have to say that before I moved into the house that I'm going to talk about, that I thought it was complete twaddle.
Right.
So, do you just want me to continue?
I want to hear your story, yes.
Okay, right. It's about 25 years ago we moved into this particular house. And the day that we moved in, as soon as I shut the door after we put all the furniture in, I really felt as though there was something horrible there.
Nobody had said anything to you beforehand, whether it was haunted, whether it had a past history or anything like that?
No, but we found out shortly afterwards that this particular house, although it was on a street that people tended to stay for a long time, no one had stayed more than 18 months previous to us moving in.
In this particular house?
In this particular house.
Right.
So that kind of threw us a little bit. Things just started to go really very strange. Mirrors would go black. Doors would appear where there weren't doors. There was a strange smell of burning in the house.
When you said doors are appearing, when you were saying doors are appearing where they were not, they shouldn't appear, right? Were they like in your vision, or were they there and then were they real doors that you could walk through?
I never actually tried. Mainly,
are you sure you didn't have too much to drink and suddenly doors are appearing in front of you?
I stopped drinking a long time ago, just in case. I was going absolutely crazy.
Right.
But
and were you alone when you saw this?
Well, at first, yes. But then after it continued for a long time, eventually my husband started telling me that he was seeing things, because I wasn't telling him in case he thought I was crazy, and he wasn't telling me in case I thought he was crazy.
Right.
But then when things started to disappear from where you'd put them and appear in very strange places.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, if you put a cup of coffee down in the kitchen, say you just made it, and you went to answer the phone or the door, and then it wouldn't be there when you got back.
Right.
But then it'd appear on a window halfway up the stairs, or on top of a wardrobe, or we had a plate rack round the sitting room, and it'd be on the top of that.
Right. And are you sure your husband wasn't moving stuff around?
No, because it would happen when there wasn't anyone else in the house.
Or at least you thought there was nobody else in the house.
Well, no one corporal, shall we say, then.
Right. Can I just ask you, do you still live in this house?
No, we did stay there for quite a long time because I didn't feel that we could do what everyone else had obviously done and sold it on. So we stayed there until we had it exercised.
Oh, you did have it exercised?
We did have it exercised just because, say, things were just getting...
So how long were you there for?
We stayed there about 15 years in the end.
You were going to see this thing through?
Oh, yeah, I just felt that we had to, that we just couldn't let anyone else have to deal with it. I didn't think it was
Why did
fair.
you think you had to have the house exercised?
I think we'd got children by then, and they were beginning to react strangely to things. Like, for example, my elder child would ask me to ring up the lady to come and play.
Right.
There wasn't any lady. It was a little girl that I used to frequently see, but I suppose to someone of his, this child would be about
And was
12.
it always the same figure that you'd see?
Oh, no. No. It certainly wasn't. We'd see this little girl who looked a bit like everyone's idea of Alice in Wonderland, perhaps.
Right.
Always used to hang about over the stairs and be peeping over the banister.
Right. Was this an old house?
No, it wasn't an old house particularly. I think it was about 30 years old, something like that, when we bought it.
Right.
Not any older than that. But you'd see figures walking up the hallway, but you wouldn't see their feet.
Right.
And when the people came round...
And were they like, in a haze, like a puff of smoke or something like this?
No, they looked really real.
Right. Did it frighten you?
I was absolutely petrified, but eventually I got used to it. So you'd sort of like...
And how often would this happen?
At first, not very often, sort of enough to make you think you were going crazy.
Right.
But then it started getting more and more frequent, and I would actually stand at the bottom of the stairs and sort of, if I was going to bed late or my husband was already in bed, and sort of say, please stay away from me while I get upstairs. And I used to run like mad up the stairs, round the bend, and into one particular room, which was always felt safe.
But Sandra, if you were that frightened, why did you continue living there?
Because I just felt that we just could not let anyone else have to deal with it. But then funny things happened as well, which made you laugh. So,
like what?
Like that. Well, I invited some people around that I didn't know particularly well. They came round one evening for coffee.
Yeah.
And we were sat there, the four of us, and little cubes about the size of OXO cubes, but bright.
Right.
Dark like an OXO cube, were flying around the sitting room, and it was so obvious that all four of us could see them, and we were pretending we couldn't see them. And that kind of thing was funny. And it was funny when you saw the children's toys zooting around the floor when they hadn't got batteries in. So
up until you moved in this house, you never believed in ghosts or anything like that at all?
No, I didn't believe in
Do you believe in ghosts now?
I'm not absolutely sure, to be honest. That sounds really strange. I believe that there are things beyond our comprehension.
Right. And after you had the house exercised, right? Mm-hmm. Did things change then?
Yes. The whole atmosphere lightened. We didn't get the black mirrors anymore. I didn't see the door.
You didn't get ice cubes flinging around the room or anything like that?
No. But I did get a little old man come to wake me up one night to tell me he was sorry.
Really?
Uh-huh. The bed shook, and I'm going to how you're sort of all groggy, and you're thinking, oh no, what's going on? And he just said he was very sorry that he'd upset us, and off he went, and I never saw him again.
Well, you're quite convincing, Sandra. You're very convincing.
Well, it's not just me. I mean, I can tell you the story of I went to work late one day, and I passed somebody that I knew who waved, and I saw them again later that day, and they asked me which of the children had been ill and off school, and I said, well, neither of them. They said, well, yes, they were. They were in the back of your car when you passed me this morning.
Spooky.
Uh-huh.
Very spooky.
Very spooky.
Sandra, thanks for sharing your story with us tonight on Late Night Love. I want to hear more stories tonight on the show. Convince us tonight that there are ghosts out there. It is Halloween, of course. Sandra, you've convinced me tonight, up until now.
I'm very pleased about that.
All right.
My son says to tell you, you are a god.
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Why?
I'm not quite sure. He's just written a little message that says, please tell him he is a god.
Thanks for sharing your story with us tonight on Late Night Love, Sandra.
Okay.
Dim the lights and turn up the love. Late Night Love with Graham Torrington.
Call me now, Wolverhampton 754 123. Late Night Love on 97.2 Beacon Radio. That's Coldplay and Fix You, Late Night Love with Graham Torrington. Halloween tonight. I don't know whether you saw Les and Scylla's wedding on Coronation Street tonight. Hilarious stuff. Absolutely hilarious. Your ghost stories tonight, then. Have you got a story to tell? We had Will on the phone a few moments ago. Will, if you're still hanging on, if you put your phone down, and Kate, my researcher, is going to be called back in a few moments' time. Okay, let's go to David. You there, David? Moments' time. Okay. You there, David? Time. Time. You there, David? Okay, we'll try and get back to David in a few moments' time. You there, David? Okay, we'll get back to David in a few moments' time. And if you want to call me, call us right now at Late Night Love. Your ghost stories tonight on Late Night Love. Let's get a Robert. You there, Robert?
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Very good. Now, I just want to be proved wrong here tonight, or I don't want to be proved wrong or right. I don't really know, but you've got some experiences to tell, haven't you, of ghosts?
Well, it's quite a weird one, really, and it's also a similarity that George Best is going through. First of all, I'm a psychology student, so I'm very sceptical, and I tend to analyse everything.
Right.
I had a liver transplant, which was in 1994.
Right.
Which was the same sort of disease, obviously, that, God forbid it, that George Best has obviously had. When I was in the recovery in intensive care, I could see the recovery room that I was in, yet I was in intensive care. And my first school sent me a tape which was full of like hymn songs and stuff like that I could actually hear. I could see the layout of the room. And there was no justification for how I could see that, obviously, because I was in a coma state, so to speak. About a year after that, I had dreams, and I kept seeing a monk at the end of my bed.
Right.
That year sort of passed quite quick, because I was on so many medication.
Wouldn't that explain it, the medication?
Sorry?
Wouldn't the medication explain it?
No, because it was an anti-rejection drugs. They were stabilisers ready, rather than sort of, for mental issues, mental health.
Right.
I kept seeing this monk at the end of my bed, and he was very friendly. Obviously, at first, I was quite sort of afraid, obviously, being a kid, because I was only 11 years old. But it kept sort of whispering things to me, saying, like, directions that I had to go, not to worry, because I was always consciously aware that I was scared of dying, although I had no reason to. But as again, I was a kid and I was scared of these sort of things. So that's my story, really.
Well, aren't we all scared of dying?
Oh yeah, I mean, for the ghost thing, it was the monk,
right,
that I kept seeing at the end of my bed. But he was quite friendly, and as again, I am sceptical, but there obviously is some sort of influence out there. Yeah,
and the thing really is as well, if there is an influence out there, can things also not be explained as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're saying on about, there's this magnetic field, and if you get in some sort of situations or circumstances, like, animals in the oceans, we give off, like, electronic fields. And sometimes those fields can sort of be enhanced, and then sometimes that can cause some sort of hallucinations, depending on sort of whereabouts you are. And obviously, how you're feeling. So I suppose that would be one sort of explanatory reason.
All right. Thanks for telling your story tonight, Robert, on Late Night Love. Now, I'm sure there's people out there listening to the show thinking, what a load of old rubbish. Well, we'd like to hear from you tonight as well. So, if you've got a story to tell, we'd like to hear from you. If you think it's a load of old rubbish as well, get on the phone, tell us tonight. It's Halloween. We want to hear your stories, your thoughts about ghosts and Halloween in general. Call us right now.
Call Graham now, Wolverhampton.
Halloween tonight, your ghost stories. We've never talked about ghosts on this show before, but we thought, well, Halloween, let's go for it tonight. So, do you think it's a load of old rubbish, or have you seen a ghost? And what stories do you have to tell? We're here till 1 o'clock. Give us a call right now. I want to move on to Brian now. You there, Brian?
Yeah, I'm here.
You've got quite a few ghost stories to tell.
Oh, yeah.
And you said to Kate, my researcher, there's nothing to be frightened of.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Tell me your stories, then.
Oh, there's been many. My first experience was when I was about 12. I used to jump sort of 5 steps from coming down the stairs to the floor.
Right.
And in my grandparents' house, it was a regular thing. And on this one particular occasion, I jumped, and it was just almost like a feeling of floating.
Right.
And as I hit the floor, I turned round, and my grandfather was at the top of the stairs watching me.
Right.
And he'd died 2 years previously.
Right.
Which really made my heart pound, obviously. And I was very quiet about that for some time. And I talked to my parents, and they said, well, yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of. He's just looking after you, making sure you're safe.
And did you buy that?
I did, yeah. I think that probably everyone's got a guardian angel somewhere. And it was comforting to think that he was still around looking after me.
Yeah, keeping his eye on you. Also, I'm led to believe that you worked in an old blacksmith's where you witnessed lots of things happen there.
Oh, yes, many things. Yeah, many things happened.
Like?
We'd have doors closing in people's face. On one occasion, I was actually talking to customers in the showroom. And, when you get a stick or a piece of metal and run along railings, you get that chinking noise.
Right.
There was a chinking noise in the showroom. We had a barbecue there. And the customer said, what was that? And I said, oh, nothing, don't worry about it. I said, it's just a ghost. And it was something that had run across the barbecue. Right. And they were just intrigued about it. So I was telling them about all the experiences that had happened within the forge. My wife had the door closed in her face many a time.
But can that be down to wind or something like that? Or,
Not on a hot summer's day.
Right.
These things didn't happen at night. These were in daytime. Many of my staff experienced the same kind of things. One of them actually said that he knew what colour shoes the ghost wore. The reason being was that he was welding one day, felt as if someone was behind him, like he used to get customers come in. He looked down and saw a pair of shoes behind him, stopped what he was doing, turned round, and there was no one there. Well, several weeks later, I actually talked to the original owner of the forge, and I mentioned it to him, and I said, just as a matter of interest, what did this guy who died in the forge, I won't tell you his name, because he's relatives and that. Yeah. And I said, what colour shoes did he wear as a matter of interest? And he said he always wore brown.
Strange.
It's very strange.
So you say we shouldn't be frightened of ghosts?
I don't think so. My neighbour's got one. He's got a ghost in there which he claims is a poltergeist because it turns all his cupboards out.
Right.
It actually ties in with one of the things with one of my children, my son, when we first moved into the property, because it's a semi-detached house.
Right.
We kept complaining to him about the state of his bedroom. And he said, it's not me, Dad, it's the man in the wall. And it wasn't until we eventually sort of got really friendly with the neighbour and he was telling us about what was going on in his house, it kind of tied in. We've had other experiences in our house. My daughter was, she's petrified of needles, and we had to have the nurse round to her because she couldn't have it done at the surgery. And this blue light came up out of the floor, seen by my daughter and my wife who was in the hallway, and it came up out of the floor, hovered above her, and then went out through the ceiling. And that's happened a couple of times.
That's Brian. Thanks for sharing your stories with us tonight on Late Night Love. James has been on the phone. He says all those cynics, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We'd like your thoughts. Call us right now at Late Night Love.
Dim the lights and turn up the love.
We don't want to frighten everybody to death tonight, so we're going to get back into our relationship stuff in just a few moments' time. If you want to talk to me about your relationship, you can call us right now at Late Night Love. Also, after 12 tonight, we're back into Midnight Matchmaker. If you're single and looking for love, we can try and hook you up with a brand new partner. To get yourself started, all you need to do is go to our website, go to the Late Night Love page, and get yourself registered there. Tonight's two profiles, Robert, who's 36, and Viv, who's 25. Details then, the other side of 12.
Late Night Love. Find love online with the UK's largest dating service. datingdirect.com.